Okay.
Hey guys, welcome back to an all new episode of a pro wrestling podcast with Matt and friends. I'm your host, Matt Kozakowski, and alongside me today is Nightmare Factory's own Abraham Storm. Abraham, how you doing, my friend?
Doing great. How about you?
I'm doing great, man. It's a great day. Nice weather out. Changed, man. It went from being so burning hot to just cool. So, staying chill, staying relaxed. How's the weather out by you?
The weather it's kind of hot today, but it's nicer compared to the past couple of days. I mean, we had like 100-degree like weather like for like a few days last week, so it kind of felt like Arizona out here in Chicago, to be
Oh
honest.
yeah, for sure, man. I'm Northwest Indiana, so I'm like 30 minutes away from Chicago, and we got that weather, man. It was ridiculously hot, very
Yeah,
humid, very, I was like, man, I got to put my air conditioning on everything, So keeping cool, man, staying cool. That's all we can do,
yeah.
Um, but yeah, man. So what was life like growing up for you? I know you grew up in Chicago. What was life growing up for you like?
Yeah. Well, growing up in Chicago, I mean, I do like Chicago despite the very cold weather like it has. And a lot of crime and like, bad activity and stuff goes
Yeah,
on there. Like a lot of people outside of Chicago, because like we get so many tourists here and stuff. They think it's the most beautiful thing they ever seen. I mean, the view of Chicago, like the downtown area, like it's beautiful and stuff. But I mean, living here, it wouldn't be the first place I would recommend unless you got like money or your shit together. You can live in like a decent area, but a lot of Chicago is the hood, so I recommend people staying out the hood.
oh no, I get it, man. You got to stay safe. And within the last decade, Chicago turned upside down, man. I mean, just
Yeah.
so much more, shit going on, so much more crime. It's upsetting because I used to go downtown all the time, and it
Hmm.
feels like you can't even walk down there anymore without the fear of something about to happen, and it's rough, man, because Chicago, I mean, like you said, man, beautiful, beautiful. I mean, you see the pictures from the
Yes.
skyline, every dude, gorgeous. But it's like the moment you go down there, it's just like, am I good down here or not? Because it's not great, man. So did you grow up playing any sports? Were you like an athlete growing up, or did you get into it when you were like older?
Well, I got into it like in like late in high school. Like I did play basketball here and there, and also wrestled in high school. And I trained in boxing a little bit too. So I have an athletic background, but not like a huge resume like a lot of people in the wrestling industry nowadays.
Right. No, for sure. And you get a lot of people that are, track and field, like people like Bianca Belair, people that played like pro NFL, stuff like that. So you get a lot of people that are coming in there, growing up playing sports and stuff. And, then you get some people who just watched wrestling and just loved it and just was like, screw it, I'm going into it.
Yeah.
You see so much stuff like that, and it's crazy because some of those people that never played sports a day in their life come in here and are blowing people out of the water, with what they're doing in the ring. It's insane, man.
Yeah.
What was that first original passion that you got into? Was it more boxing or was it more pro wrestling?
So I would say combat sports in general, like me currently right now, I follow all three major combat sports like MMA, boxing, and wrestling.
Yep.
But I would say like around the age of like 4, I started watching both wrestling and boxing
Okay.
because my family, like well, they are huge fans of of combat sports. My dad and my brothers and even my one of my uncles, like he was a huge fan of combat sports. So I bet like I grew up watching it at age 4, but I would say wrestling kind of caught my eye a little bit more as a kid
Right.
because I just remember like at age 4 when I started watching every week, I could just name like every wrestler and stuff like back when I watched boxing, I can name all the boxers, but they were like the top boxers because during that time, Mike Tyson was still fighting like in like the early 2000s and stuff. Like even though he
Right.
was past his prime, Like I knew him and a few others because they were the top boxers over wrestling. I knew like the whole entire roster back from like 2000 or 2001 and stuff. So I think wrestling caught my eye a little bit more, not because of the combat aspect of it, but also like the entertainment part, storytelling and stuff like that.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, I think it's just like, the larger than life characters and everything like that just kind of catches your eye. I mean, as a kid growing up, the combat sports, I mean, yeah, it's probably, cool to watch, guys go head to head, but when you see pro wrestling, it's like, you're watching characters build and it's so different, different aspects. I mean, all combat sports, and I'm glad that you mentioned it because pro wrestling is still a sport. A lot of people are always saying still like pro wrestling, that shit's fake, all that. Nah, dude, step in a ring and then tell us what it is because we know,
Yeah,
we know exactly what it
exactly.
is. Now when you got into pro wrestling, do you remember that first moment that really caught your eye that was like the most memorabilia and most memorable spot in pro wrestling that really grabbed your attention that was like, this is the coolest thing ever? Do you remember that time where it was like, just like, holy shit, this is everything I wanted it to be?
Yeah, I believe back when I was four, when I was watching wrestling, there was one time on Raw where I saw The Rock cutting a promo, and one of my brothers told me, "Hey, look, that wrestler right there, his name is The Rock," and I just heard him just like he got the crowd going crazy. I'm like, man, this nigga got the crowd going crazy. Like I just stood there and just like I was just amazed by like what I was seeing like as a kid. Like, man, what the hell is this dude doing like to make the crowd go crazy like this? Because
Right.
the crowd was like, in millions, the millions or whatever. Like it was just, man, this is insane. But the first thing that really caught my eye with pro wrestling, like, was seeing the Rock cut a promo leading up to WrestleMania. I forgot which number it was back in 2000, but that was like one of the first things I remember
Oh
about
yeah.
pro wrestling.
I
Yeah,
mean, was it I want to say it was probably him and Austin because I mean, you can't go WrestleMania in that time without The Rock and Austin. Um, I'm
yeah. It
trying to
was
think.
leading up to the Fatal Four Way, I think, in
Okay,
2000.
so
Yeah, the
between The
one with Big
Rock, Big
Show.
Show, yeah, that match was so awesome. I love that match, man. I could talk about that match all the time.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: whose feet touched first, The Rock's or the Big Show's?
Mm. The I think it was Big Show's. I think from what
uh,
I remember, I think his touched first. I believe.
man, it's such a controversial thing because I remember The Rock came back in like 2010 or 9 or something. And he was backstage and he walked up to the Big Show. He's like, "Hey, I remember my feet touched first, but hey, whatever."
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah,
He's like, "Hey, shit happens, but you're a good sport about it." Man, it's so funny because I still have people telling me they're like, "Man, The Rock's feet touched first," and I'm like, I don't know, man. It was close, but I don't know, man. I think The Rock's feet did touch first. If we want to really, think about it, I think The
yeah.
Rock.
I haven't seen that match in a long time. So, matter of fact, when I get off the phone with you, I'm gonna check out like some of All In, and I'm gonna check that out on Peacock.
Good call, man. Because I
Yeah,
think I might do the same thing, to be honest with you, and then we'll have to touch base and see whose feet actually touched first.
for
Uh,
sure.
but yeah, so that was the moment that really caught your eye. So when you started watching it, The Rock, obviously one of the most electrifying people in pro wrestling, in sports entertainment. I mean, when he says that shit, it's not just a catchphrase, it's reality. The Rock was definitely somebody that really grabbed your attention. Especially for somebody like me who started watching in '03. I missed all that time. I missed The Rock.
Hmm.
I missed Austin. I seen Austin as a manager. You know what I'm saying? So it was one of those moments where I missed all that shit. I seen the
Right.
Undertaker when he was about to end his badass gimmick into going back to being, the Phenom. I seen Kane where he just unmasked, shit like that. So I missed, the late '90s, mid '90s to 2003. I mean, obviously, I know what happened now, but yeah, I mean, just catching that. I mean, my first experience was Booker T versus Christian. You know, that match
Mm.
for the IC title at Bad Blood 2003, fantastic. One of the best matches I've ever seen. Probably because I'm biased, because that's what really got me into pro wrestling. But you know, noticing The Rock, man, I mean, that's such a gravitational pull and something that would be like, you know, this is cool. What was that moment that you knew you wanted to be a pro wrestler?
So I wanted to become a wrestler probably like when I was like 6 years old because I was watching wrestling every single week. Like back when so I think SmackDown was still on Thursdays then. Raw was still on well, Raw always been on Mondays, but I think Raw was on a channel called Spike TV at the time, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, but when I started watching it every single week, like I couldn't get my mind off wrestling. Like, gosh, it used to be like a way to kind of like get my mind off of stuff at school at the time. Like I would try to like rush through my homework just to watch wrestling and stuff. My mom used to buy the toys and video games for me like every year for Christmas. So I'm like, man, this shit seems so dope. Like
Yep.
I'm like, I think I want to do this one day.
Oh, absolutely. So you said your mom used to buy you the toys and games. What was the first wrestling video game that you got, if you could remember?
First wrestling video game I ever got was SmackDown Shut Your Mouth in 2002.
Me too.
Oh, that's
Gr-
dope.
Great, dude. I love that game so much. Where you could walk around backstage and do the storylines, and it literally only had like a 3 year storyline, you know, story.
Mm,
Dude,
yeah.
fantastic. And then right after, Here Comes the Pain. Dude, those two games changed my life.
Yeah, I
Literally.
had that too. Yeah.
I remember I purchased Shut Your Mouth, or not Shut Your Mouth. What was the one before it? Know Your Role, I think. And The Rock was
It
on
was
the cover.
Just Bring It. Yeah, Just
Yeah,
Bring It.
that's it. Yep. I tried that one, man, and I hated it. I was not a
Yeah.
fan. And I was like, man, Shut Your Mouth just brought something different. And I remember you could go up to somebody backstage and be like, will you be my tag team partner? And they're like, yeah, sure. And you'd go for the tag titles and shit. Like, dude, that game was so different. Now, you know, you can't do that shit. You can't go backstage and be like requesting to be partners and shit.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember like the first action figures that you got?
First action figures I got, I remember from off the top of my head because like I had so many, and usually my memory is pretty good, but I don't remember exactly the first one I had. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe I had a Stone Cold Steve Austin action figure first.
That's a good one to get. That is a
Yeah,
good
it was
one
a
to get.
Steve Austin. Yeah, it was Steve Austin, and the other one I had. Uh, both of my parents bought me this one. It was a like a Titantron toy. It was from the Attitude Era. It came with
Yes.
Mr. McMahon. It was Mr. McMahon wearing the suit, and then it had like some of the Attitude Era's faces on it. Like it had
Yep.
The Rock, Stone Cold. It had Undertaker, the Ministry Undertaker. It had Gangrel, and I think it had Mankind. I think too, but it had all of their faces on there when you put the wrestler's toy up on a Titan trying to play their music.
Yes, dude. You were the
Yeah.
first person that I know that has had that shit, dude. That is the coolest.
Yeah, I
I
wish I
got
still had it to this day. Like if I had it, like if I had it right now, like when I had kids, I would have given that to my son. Like when I had kids, like gosh, man, I lost some of those toys and stuff.
that
But
was
my
so
mom bought me
cool.
so I know it was one of the most like one of the most dope toys I ever had. Like probably one of the most dope toys ever created. Like
Oh, for
it was
sure.
so creative for its time.
Because they had on the bottom of the foot, they had like those two little silver bars,
Exactly.
and you'd put it on the Titantron, and it would play the music, but it would only play the music of the wrestler that was like on there. Like it, you know, if it was like somebody like Jeff Hardy that wasn't on there, you couldn't play Jeff Hardy's music. It was one of those wrestlers, but it was still something unique that never has ever happened before. Man, dude, thinking about that is the coolest shit ever because I grew up with that too.
Yeah.
You know, man, and building the entrance to the ring, dude, that brings back childhood memories for sure.
Yeah, same.
You know, it's funny though because I love talking about like action figures and stuff because I remember
Yeah.
as a kid, um, you know, I didn't watch wrestling like I said until 2003, But I remember
Yeah.
going to Toys R Us when I was like 8 or 9, and they had a couple wrestling figures, and I bought the only two that I remember. I don't because I think I bought got 4 of them, and the only two I
Hmm.
remember was Devon Dudley and Sting. I don't know
Devon and
why I
Sting.
chose those two, but it was like something grasped my attention to both. And I think Sting with the face mask, and then something about Devon was just like, I need these two, you know? So
Yeah.
I remember those being the first two. And then I remember when I started actually watching wrestling, I remember the first figure I bought was an Ultimate Warrior figure, which was really cool.
Mm.
And then because you had the knee pads that came off and shit, and they had like the tassels, so that was one of the coolest figures I've ever gotten. But man, growing up playing with figures, man, was the coolest shit too. I wish I could still do it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I mean, do you still collect like figures and stuff, or do you not do that kind of stuff?
Nah, I can't do that stuff well, I haven't really like thought about doing that, like collecting figures, like, but it does seem pretty cool. Like the last action figure I got was probably back in 2008. Like I'm gonna tell you a crazy story about my last WWE action figure.
Oh, let's
So
go.
yeah, so on Christmas of 2008, or possibly even 2009, for what I remember, turns out my mom actually bought me an action figure of Cody Rhodes.
Let's go. That's
On Cody
awesome.
Rhodes action, and you know where that story leads to many years later and stuff.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah,
We definitely know where that goes. So before we get into that story, because that is coming up here in a moment, um,
yeah.
if you had to choose what inspired your boxing gimmick, because
Mm.
you have that throwback, you have that striking, you have that cool badass boxing get, I love that. It's awesome. What really inspired that for you? I know, we could talk about boxing, we could talk about wrestling. What was that person that really inspired that gimmick for you?
Mm. So I would say it maybe about two people that inspired that gimmick because I grew up as a boxing fan too. I would say both Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather inspired the gimmick because I felt like even though those two weren't wrestlers and they both have competed in the WWE ring before, even though they're boxers.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, but one thing I noticed about those two is like boxing, there's a lot of money in boxing, but it's hard to make money in boxing. And one thing about those two knew how to sell tickets. And I felt like they were like badass, but they also have moments of humor, of cockiness. I
Yeah.
felt like me being a wrestler, I felt like if I kind of like looked up to some people outside of the industry, it might kind of like come off as something that'll stand out more.
Oh yeah. Instead of looking at it like, somebody like Mark Miro who wrestled with the boxing shorts and stuff like that, Mark Miro, fantastic, man. Such an underrated wrestler.
Yeah.
But, coming in there with the full boxing experience and doing the striking, I mean, you really I don't think you really see that often anymore with the boxing shorts, the whole boxing gimmick. We really don't see that in wrestling because I've watched your matches, what I've seen, and you do the striking. Somebody like Mark Miro, who is more technical and doing shooting star presses and stuff like that, you kind of give that Ken Shamrockish, let me beat the shit out of you vibe. And it's something refreshing, man, for sure. Um, but yeah, no, man, I remember watching Floyd Money Mayweather come into the WWE, do the whole thing with the Big Show, bust his nose. We
Yeah.
all know the Mike Tyson backstory. He's what led Austin to winning his WWF championship.
Right.
So those are iconic people to look into as far as trying to build what you want to do in the wrestling industry and in the boxing industry. Now, when it came down to training for pro wrestling, I'm excited to hear what led you to the Rhodes Wrestling Academy, or not Rhodes Wrestling Academy, Nightmare Factory. It's a
Yeah.
Rhodes. but different school. So
True.
what led you to the Nightmare Factory?
So I moved out of Chicago like around the end of 2018. I kind of got sick of the weather here that we have and stuff. I mean, even though I'm back here now, but I just wanted to move away for a little bit. And so I was there. I mean, when 2019 hit, like the first Double or Nothing episode, and then I just started watching AEW every week, like once they came out back in 2019.
Right.
So I was watching stuff like AEW Dark back when they used to have an AEW Dark, and I saw a guy on here by the name of QT Marshall. And I said, QT, there's a famous gas station in Georgia called QT. So maybe he's a fan of that gas station. I don't know. But I went on his Instagram and looked. And when I went on his Instagram and looked, I saw that he had a wrestling school. And I saw that he had a picture with Cody Rhodes on there. I'm like, interesting. So I thought about like checking his school out at the time. I checked out a couple of other schools in Atlanta. I was going to train at this one school called WW4A at first, AR
AR
Fox. Who,
Fox's school.
yeah, I was going to train there at first, but and then after that, I heard that at QT school that Cody actually comes there and help with the students. So I'm like, I want to give that a try. So I was going to get in there sooner than what I originally did, but COVID lockdown happened and stuff like that. So Georgia ended up being one of the first states to reopen during the pandemic. I
Yep.
was at work one day, and all of a sudden, like around, I would say like July or maybe like August, around this time in 2020, he says, "Hello, Abraham. I see you put in an application for us. Are you still interested in becoming a wrestler?" And I'm like, "Gosh, really?" And after that, like he was like, "Oh, you can come in and check out the school one day next week." So I came out. I came out to the school and checked it out, and he was like, "So we have something new going on here now. Cody Rhodes himself is going to be training students. He wants to train beginners." And I'm like, "Really, Cody Rhodes?" He said, "Yes, Cody will be coaching himself." So like I'm like, whoa, like I'm down to do this. And so he told me that there were a lot of students that applied because he told me that Cody kind of felt that no one really wants to be a wrestler these days. But QT told me himself that he showed Cody the amount of applications, like for people like who wanted to train at the Nightmare Factory, because the school was originally called One Fall Para Factory, but when Cody took over, it became the Nightmare Factory. So so many people were applying to be students, and Cody was only going to choose like about 20 to 25 people. I think they don't want like a huge like large crowd like other than that because the COVID rules and all that bullshit at the
Right. Right.
time. So yeah, so he said he let Cody know about me, and the final decision was up to Cody. So about 2 weeks later, I received an email saying congratulations, you've been accepted to the Nightmare Factory. And Cody left a message and stuff saying just be prepared and stuff. And I would, oh gosh, that was one of the most exciting days of my life, getting that
Oh, for
email from
sure.
Cody. Yeah.
For sure. That's the first time I actually heard that. I did not know that the Nightmare Factory was a different school beforehand. I've interviewed a bunch of wrestlers and I've had people come on my show that have been from the Nightmare Factory, and nobody has ever said that before, which is very surprising. So was that QT school before Cody came in, or whose school was that?
Oh, it was actually QT school because QT ended up opening up the school before he got signed. QT like told me like he broke his neck before, and he always wanted a job in professional wrestling. That's why he opened up the school. Because he ended up like having like issues with his neck and stuff. At first, the doctors weren't going to clear him to wrestle, so I guess he still wanted to do something in the wrestling industry, like whether he was going to be wrestling full time or on TV or not. So, to my knowledge, he opened up the school like in 2017 or 2018. It was called One Fall Power Factory.
That's really cool, man. I did not know that. So the whole Nightmare Factory, everything came together with Cody. Now I know I don't remember exactly which class you were. You're class 1 or 2?
One.
1. Okay. So yeah, I remember because I remember seeing you very early on. Very impressed, man. That whole showcase was really cool. Brought a lot of people to my eyes. You, Josh Breezy, TSF, Rosario Grillo, and Hunter Knott. Dean
Yeah.
Alexander. That showcase was incredible, man. I instantly fell in love with it because it was so different. You don't see a lot of schools out there posting their week, classes and showcase matches. And it's really something special. Because you get to see new wrestlers come out there and make their name and make their way, and you get to watch them develop and grow. There's been people from other showcases on that I became really good friends with because I've watched them and seen them steadily, doing their thing and absolutely killing it. What the Nightmare Factory and what the Rhodes Wrestling Academy does for their students is absolutely incredible. So it must have been really cool, to train with your last action figure that you ever got. So
True.
so what was something that you were taught that really stuck with you into your career so far? What was that one thing that said to you that you were like, I'm gonna keep this in my head the rest of my life?
So I remember training at the Nightmare Factory, and it was after we were done doing our in-ring training. Cody told all of his students because the way it works in Nightmare Factory, it's a 12 weeks beginners class with Cody, and after that they have an advanced class. Nowadays they have QT is the teaching the advanced class, and also along with Billy Gunn. So the
Yes.
Nightmare Factory, like has been doing some great things lately. But getting back to your question, I remember Cody telling us, he said, guys, no matter if you train here or any other wrestling school, never become a wrestling school lifer.
Yes.
Never become a wrestling school lifer. He told us like what he was teaching us in 12 weeks, like take that and just train consistently, use that, come up with a creative gimmick because like this industry, you can make money in it, but it's a difficult industry to make money in. Like Cody was telling us things like that, and I feel like him saying to never be a wrestling school lifer will always stick to me.
When he says that, is that more of a sense of, don't just train and then just sit on it? Or what does he mean by that? Does it mean more like, don't just keep going to school to school to school? Or does it mean like, don't just train and then do nothing with it?
Yeah, that's pretty much what he was saying in so many words. Like, don't just train and don't do anything like with it, because he was saying by being a wrestling school, like with any school, you got to go to the next level.
Right.
So he just said, I'll always keep that in mind. Like, you got to get to the next level. Like, you just keep that always in the back of your mind. Like don't just be content with training at a wrestling school and that's it. Like, even if you just get out there and work the indies consistently, like do something with it to take you to the next level.
Right.
So that right there, like, will always stick with me. Like, as far as the advice that Cody ever gave us.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I've seen wrestlers have their showcase match and then never seen them again. So it's sad to see that because there's some people that are just sitting by and not pushing out that, going to the next
Mhm.
step and continuing to take bookings. That's going to be what grows in the future. That's going to be what gets more eyes on you, is getting out there. And you never know, one of your fans could be like, hey, I'm best friends with this guy who runs this organization, let's get you here. And that can open your eyes to somewhere new, and bigger things. I mean, you just continue to grow, man. That's all you can do. um
Yeah, for sure.
and that piece of advice, I mean, that can work for anything, right? Don't just do
Yes.
something once and just sit on it. Continue to grow.
Yes.
That's definitely something that can stick with anybody. So whoever's watching that, don't just sit on something, man. Just continue to grow. I mean, that's what me and Abraham are doing. We're continuing our careers.
We are.
um
Yeah.
so now here's a question for you. If you had to choose between three boxers and then three wrestlers to have dream matches against, who would they be?
Mhm. Three wrestlers or boxers. They can be like it can be indie wrestlers, WWE, AEW, anybody.
Any wrestlers and then any three boxers.
So with wrestlers, I would say one of the people I would love to wrestle is John Moxley.
Okay.
As a fan, John Moxley is one of my favorite, but I love hardcore matches. I mean, hey, I just had one in Utah this past Saturday, so I mean, I love hardcore matches. I mean, they're fun.
When we're talking
One thing
hardcore, are we talking about actual hardcore? Are we talking about what we just seen on Friday between the Brawling Brutes and the Street Profits?
similar to what we've seen on SmackDown with the Street Profits, but that they were doing that in memory of Terry Funk. What I did this
Yeah,
past Saturday night, that was a memory of Terry Funk too. So like hardcore, like ECW type style, like
yeah.
stuff
That's how
like
you
that. So
do it.
that's why I would. Right, yeah, that's why I like to wrestle someone like John Moxley because I mean that man he gets hardcore as shit. So
Oh yeah.
and he's always bleeding.
Yep. Always. Always bleeding. All
Yeah,
right. So
no
John
doubt.
Moxley. We got John Moxley.
Yes, another one I would love to work with is Chad Gable.
Oh, dude. I have been a Gable fan since day one.
Same here. That man is so underrated. It's like from what I heard, he never wrestled on the Indies before. I think he was just
Yes.
one of those athletes like they just picked up like from the Next in Line program. And that man, oh gosh, he is so phenomenal in ring. Like I hope he gets a major world title someday because
Oh,
his in ring skills is like a prime Kurt Angle or a prime Chris Benoit. Like, forgive me for mentioning that name. I don't want to get canceled from the industry, but he has the in ring level like those two guys I just mentioned.
well, we get it, right? We here's the thing, and I'll probably get canceled too. We can't take away his ability in the ring.
Yeah.
Paul Heyman said something, because somebody in a crowd one time when Paul Heyman was doing an interview or something said, Chris Benoit, my guy. And he goes, who fucking said that? Like, don't say he's
Oh,
your
I seen
guy.
that.
But then he said, you can't take away what Benoit did as a wrestler. You can't. I mean, incredible in ring work, right? So we can't take away what he did in the ring, but granted, it is a harsh topic, right? I mean, people still don't want to talk about it. And prayers to Nancy and David, or Daniel. I mean, they didn't deserve that, but going back on what you said, I mean, yeah, their technical ability was one of a kind, man. I put Kurt Angle as the second greatest wrestler of all time,
Yeah.
because of his ability. But man, Chad Gable just his match with Gunther the other dude. Holy
Yeah. After they're gonna
shit!
do a rematch and like that was only like about like maybe like a 5 or 6 minute match. It wasn't a long match, but
Yes.
it was still phenomenal though. Like it was still good.
Oh, for sure. And dude, if they're doing their rematch at Payback, or what is it, Payback? Yeah, I think so. If they do their match at Payback and give them 20 minutes, holy shit, dude, that's gonna be one of the best matches of all time. Guaranteed. Because,
For sure.
we've seen what Gunther can do in the ring. We know damn well how fucking savage he is. I mean, such a phenomenal performer, but Chad Gable has been underrated and underlooked for years. He had to go through that whole Shorty G shit, to get to where he is now. And to think about everything that he's done, to being, partnered with Jason Jordan, just to be thrown to Shelton Benjamin, to be thrown to Robert Roode, to do the Shorty G shit, to being with Otis. I mean, he's pushed and he continues to develop. So I
Right.
think that being a dream match right there is an incredible choice, because Chad Gable is definitely somebody that people would want to have a dream match against, because he's ridiculously talented. And for you to say that, I mean, that shows, your thoughts into pro wrestling aren't just the top names, they're worldwide. So, I mean,
Yes.
for you to say Chad Gable as one of your three top dream matches, bravo to you, man, because
Thank you.
that is incredible. All right, so we got John Moxley, we got Chad Gable. Who's number three?
Number three, there's so many names out there that I would love to have a dream match with, but I would say number three, and like if I make it in the industry, like make become a big name in the industry, I would love for this match to happen because I feel like everyone in Chicago would want to see it. It'll be none other than CM Punk.
The most controversial wrestler right now.
Yes, but also the most famous wrestler from Chicago. So I mean, hey,
Yes.
he's a Cub fan. I'm a Sox fan. So it'll be North Side versus South Side.
That's a fight we want to see right there.
Yeah,
Dude, I remember, I'm very upset that Punk came back, and the only reason being is because I was one of the last people to see him wrestle when he retired years ago. Um,
yeah,
I remember, I don't know if you're familiar with Hammond, Indiana, but Hammond,
I
Indiana
am.
has the Hammond Civic Center, and they
Yes.
used to have wrestling house shows there. So I remember in January, right before the Rumble, they had a house show, and I went to this show, and it was CM Punk versus the Shield 3-on-1 handicap match in the main event. CM Punk
Mm.
ended up winning, and then the Rumble happened like a week and a half later, and then he's gone. So it
Yeah.
was it was cool to see, to say that, like, yeah, I was one of the last people to see Punk wrestle live, and then now he's back, and I'm like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't take away what he's given to the industry. I mean,
Exactly.
to know what he did in 2011 to 2013, working through injury after injury after injury. I mean, granted, right? He does bitch a lot, right? He is very controversial, but
Yes.
you can't take away what he did, man. I mean, this dude literally, you can see how bad he was hurting, and he just performed, man. I mean, so you can't take away from him how good of a fucking wrestler he is. He is
Yeah.
one of the
See,
all-time best.
he is like I really respect that man. Like especially when he made his debut for AEW in 2021. I was at home when I was this one. I was living in Georgia. I had a case of COVID-19 during that time, so I'm
Oh
just
man.
sitting at home just watching TV and stuff. And I'm like, man, the crowd is going crazy just trying to see CM Punk. Like, is he really going to show up? And like he did, and like the crowd was just going insane.
Yep. It was right
Yeah,
as the
like
show started, too, man. Like,
mm,
they open the show and the fans are chanting for CM Punk, and all you hear is the static. You know, One of the best returns in pro wrestling ever.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, just like even though like the stuff backstage, like that's been going on the internet, like over the past like year about Punk,
yep.
like I don't know like what the actual details of that were, but like I mean, hey, to me that shit doesn't take away from Punk's legacy, like like what went on backstage or not, like
Oh yeah,
it
for
doesn't
sure.
take away from his legacy.
Oh, for sure. And here's the thing. When it comes down to journalists, when it comes down to people posting shit online, we don't know what happened. We weren't there. It's
Yeah,
just he say, she say. It comes down to it where if we're not there, we can't see who actually started shit. We don't know what happened. Obviously, it's like if me and you were fighting right now, you'd probably say I'm a piece of shit, and I'd say you're a piece of shit. And who wins here? Nobody.
right, yeah,
Um, but man, to take away what Punk did, you can't. Not at all. Like I said, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. When he came to WWE, I think back in 05, 06, he was the fresh young star and everybody loved him. There was no question. You know, people wanted Punk, and I remember watching Survivor Series 06 or 07, and it was Punk, the Hardys, and Degeneration X. And the crowd was nuts over Punk, man, nuts over Punk, and they just wanted to watch him. They didn't care about anybody else, just Punk. So to
yeah,
know when he was that young, to knowing who he is now, and to see where he's gone in his pro wrestling, you can't take shit away from him. Not at
right.
all. So now we learned the three wrestlers who are your dream matches. Who are your three boxing fight dream matches?
In boxing. if I were to ever like to switch over like to professional boxing, because I've trained in boxing before, but if I were to ever go pro with it, I would say one of the boxers I would love to fight, and I'll elaborate more about him, like you know in our interview, is none other than the so-called problem child, Jake Paul.
We'll get that.
Anybody that,
We'll get
yeah,
that.
that is the number one opponent, but I'll elaborate more on him later. But if it could be two other current boxers right now, there's a heavyweight boxer by the name of Deontay Wilder.
Okay.
He's one of the most like he's one of the most hardest hitters like in boxing right now. Probably one of the most hardest punchers probably since prime Mike Tyson. He has like a 90% knockout percentage. So like that man has that sick power in his hands.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, he has like some sick power in his hands. But in another boxer, I would love to fight. Mm, I'm a little too heavy right now, but I would like to fight this fighter named Gervonta Davis,
Okay.
trained by Floyd Mayweather. Yeah, I mean
Okay.
he's a lightweight, but if I was like around 130 or 140, I would love to fight Gervonta Davis.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, man. So
Yeah,
I stopped following boxing a long time ago, but you see the names pop up, and Wilder has been a name that I've seen before. And like you said, I mean, his strengths and shit, man, he kills it for sure.
right. I'm not
We
sure if you ever seen the fight with him and Tyson Fury.
I have
You heard of
not.
Tyson
No,
Fury?
I do know who Tyson is. Yes.
Yeah, but
Um,
if you ever want to like look up some boxing stuff on YouTube, look up when Deontay Wilder fought Tyson Fury in their first fight. He hits Tyson Fury with a two piece, and Fury goes to sleep, and somehow he wakes up and gets back up before the referee counts to 10. It was like Tyson Fury had his Undertaker moment. Maybe the match with Braun Strowman taught him something different, but man, but Fury got up like Undertaker, like, man, how did you get up or something like that? Like, it
right.
was crazy. Yeah.
I'll have to watch that match, because like I said, I mean, I don't follow boxing, like I used to a long time ago. I followed UFC, I followed boxing. I don't follow it like I used to.
Yeah.
But that is something I'll definitely have to watch, especially because I do know who Tyson Fury is, and he's one of the best fighters in the world.
Yeah.
And we've seen him in WWE. So
Yes.
I'd love to see that match. I'd love to see what happens. Ooh, Jake Paul, man. Ooh, here we go. Here we go.
Oh gosh.
So, Abraham, we've seen on your Twitter quite a bit you calling out the Logan Paul and Jake Paul brothers here. Um,
Wait,
so
you say
what's
Paul brothers?
the
You
Paul
mean the Paul sisters?
the Paul sisters?
The
Yes.
Paul sisters, yeah. Gosh,
Yes.
that old prime thing, man. That prime thing,
So
yeah.
what is the beef with the Paul sisters?
So Jake and Logan, one thing I know about y'all, like y'all work hard to get to the top. I mean, hey, one time Jake, you even call yourself the disruptor or something like that. And Jake and Logan, if you're watching this video, I respect what you guys have done, but I'm coming to disrupt y'all as well. So I'm making that loud and clear right now. I mean, hey, Logan doing his thing in WWE. Hey, Jake's doing his thing in boxing. I don't know if they're going to last in MMA or not, but hey, they're doing some big things out there. But I want to take their spot. I want to take their spot. I
Hey
mean, hey,
Logan, hey Jake, Abraham Storm's coming for you guys.
yeah, you're damn right. I'm coming for them.
A storm's brewing, man. I'm stoked. Let's fucking do it. Oh man.
Yeah, Storm is brewing, man. Like, so no, and Logan with that old prime drink, man. That prime drink smells like horse shit. Prime.
Oh, dude, I've
Yeah.
never heard that before. That is fucking genius.
Yes. That old prime drink smells like horse shit. So one time I went to Walmart and got a couple of bottles of those. I opened up the lime flavor one, man. That shit stinks, man. I almost got a migraine headache from that.
Oh, dude, yeah. I've thought about trying it, and then I'm like, nah, I can't do it. And I had a buddy of mine ask me recently, he's like, why? and I said, I don't like Logan Paul. I don't like Logan Paul. I I won't take away what he's doing because, man, I will say this: Logan Paul, I think, is the best celebrity turned pro wrestler. There's no
I
question.
agree.
The match that he just had with Ricochet at the last pay-per-view. What was the last pay-per-view? I can't think. Was it?
It
It
was
was SummerSlam.
SummerSlam.
Dude,
Yes,
in my opinion, and I don't give a shit what anybody else says, in my opinion, that was match of the night. Logan
I
Paul
think
and
so too.
Ricochet killed it. And I,
Yeah,
I I really think Ricochet and Logan need to run it back one more time because that little bitch had to use fucking brass knuckles. We don't do that shit here. We
yeah,
fucking fight it out. And that's why Storm's coming for you, Logan. Remember that shit when he
yeah,
knocks your ass out.
yeah. And Logan, I'm knocking you out. I'm knocking you out cold.
Dude,
One
knock
thing I got in
KSI out
common,
too.
Yo, KSI. Oh, I forgot all about KSI.
Knock both their asses out, man. Just knock them the fuck out. And that fucking prime bot, dude, knock them all out.
For sure, for sure. But one thing I'll say about Jake and Logan, hey, people call them fake fighters. Whenever it came down to boxing um pro wrestling.
Yeah.
But hey, I've been called a fake fighter before too, because I'm in a wrestling ring doing boxing skills, like showcasing that. So hey, I mean, hey, Jake and Logan, I mean, we know how it's like to be called fake fighters and stuff. So why not go out there and show the world that we're real fighters?
Oh, definitely. And I think, you know what, Abraham, there's one thing I think for sure is we do need to see that happen. Is we do need to
Yes.
see you get your knockouts on both of them. And man, I do expect big things for you, especially because your striking ability alone is going to speak volumes in the future. We definitely are going to see big things from Abraham Storm, and I'm really looking forward to see what the next 5-10 years brings for you in the world of pro wrestling, boxing, MMA, whatever happens, man. We know you're going to fucking strike it out. You're going to kill it. We're looking to see you knock out a home run right here. You're gonna dominate, man. I'm really excited to see what happens next for you. Um,
Thank you.
absolutely. What is next for Abraham Storm?
So, so this past Saturday night, I had a hardcore match in Utah. It was very very intense. We brought all throughout the arena and stuff. So coming off a victory this past Saturday night, I mean, hey, I'm ready to fight again. So as of right now, I do not have any matches scheduled right now, but it will be very 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 soon. So you're going to be seeing me up in the ring, in the wrestling ring, preferably Chicago next, my hometown. Looking forward to making my hometown debut before the end of 2023. So, I mean, hey, so the main thing you can see from Abraham Storm next is in the ring fighting, doing what he does best, and hey, possibly even training for MMA or like being in a professional MMA fight. So I wouldn't rule out the possibility of me competing in MMA as well.
Oh, absolutely. And we've seen him do it, man. Bobby Lashley, Batista, Brock Lesnar. We've seen it happen. So I mean, it's not
Yes.
unheard of. If there was one wrestler that you could choose from your class of the Nightmare Factory to go one-on-one with that you have not fought yet, who would it be?
Mm. Because I've wrestled a lot of the Nightmare Factory people at the Nightmare Factory, but those were like more like practice matches and drills and stuff. But to actually like get in there, wrestle, and have an actual match with, if I can choose one, give me a second to think about that because it's like about 50 of them I know. Hmm. If I can choose one,
I know there's a bunch, man. It's a lot to name.
there's a lot to name. Um, Trevor, if you're watching this video, Trevor Outlaw, you're one of the people I want to wrestle.
Trevor, fucking out. Trevor, you're an asshole. I hope you do watch this video. Fuck you, Trevor.
Yeah, that's right. Fuck you, Trevor.
Trevor's a piece of shit, dude. I never want to
Yeah.
interview that son of a bitch again. Um,
Damn, I did not see that interview. I mean,
Trevor, I hope you're watching this because guess what, Trevor? I'm reading at a 5th grade level now, you stupid son of a bitch. Anyway. But Matt, now
hey, by the
Trevor.
way, yeah, Trevor, I'm gonna say this real quick to Trevor. I mean, I thought about quitting wrestling once, and he actually motivated me not to quit. So, Trevor, thanks for motivating me. But hey, I think you motivated me a little too much because I'm about to whoop your ass.
Dude, Trevor, I think, is one of the best wrestlers. I shit you not. He puts that heel character to work, and he is fucking great. I give my
Yes.
hat off to Trevor. Very talented. You know, I still fuck you, Trevor, but you can't take that away from him, man. You can't.
Oh
He's
God.
too damn good.
Yeah.
But Abraham, do you want to tell the fans where they could find you at on social media?
Yes, you can follow me on Twitter, well, aka X nowadays, at Abraham Storms. Not Abraham Storm, Abraham Storms, my real name. Spelled Abraham and the last name spelled Stornes. So at Abraham Storms on X and Instagram, Abraham Storm Official. You can follow me on there.
Absolutely. Abraham, I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. I know a storm's about to be brewing, man. We can't wait. I'm stoked. You're stoked. Let's go kill it, man. Hopefully, we see you soon in Chicago. Can't wait.
For sure.
AAW, bring in Abraham Storm because he needs to come home.
Yes, sir.
Abraham, it was a pleasure having you on the show, man. It was great talking to you. I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. I wish you nothing but the best.
Yes. Same to
Thank you
you.
so much.
Mhm.
Guys, until next time, this was a pro wrestling podcast with Matt and friends. I was your host again, Matt Kozakowski. This was Abraham Storm. Signing out, guys.